but I picked it because I enjoy language a lot, but I like the crossover between literature as well, and I enjoy the books you study as well, so I just thought, why not have the best of both worlds? So
I don't think people realize how much of a creative subject English is. Like, unlike any other subject, you can come to any conclusion as long as you have enough factual evidence to back up your points. And that leads to a plethora of different opinions, different things that you may not have points like found in your answer, but you can find in others. And yeah, I think it's just very creative.
And overall, it's not like a base subject like biology where there's only one answer. The answer is genuinely whatever you can come up with, and it's your own creativity and your imagination that can be your answer. As long as you are able to balance it and able to actually have the facts and the evidence to support your claims and your arguments, there's no limit to what you can really accomplish in English literature language.
Currently I'm doing my coursework on Hamlet, and I get to compare it to any text, and I'm comparing it on a show called Black Lightning on Netflix. And I'm imagining that you probably wouldn't be able to do that if you were like in year 11 or 10. I feel like the skills I gain from it is I'm able to articulate myself very well, because with language you have to understand how, you have to have a very analytical mind. And I think that is very important to have that, and you strengthen such skills and interpersonal skills as well in the subject as well. And I think that's very helpful, and it's just essential for life, after school as well. So yeah.
Hello, those of you who haven't met me before, my name is Miss Best, and one of the responsibilities I have within the English department is looking after the English language and literature A-level. Listen very carefully to that, language and literature. The first thing I want to start off with is this is nothing like GCSE English. That's the first point I want to make. It's something that every student starts with, saying, oh, I'm not going to do it because it's like GCSE English. It's not. It's a very different programme of study. And you will have heard that also I've just said it is language, looking and focusing at language, but it is with literature, and it's language in literature. So we look very closely at different text producers, writers, playwrights, speakers, advertising agencies, whoever it might be. We look very closely at the way that they use language for different purposes and different audiences. We offer the full spectrum of text type. So we will study some very, very, very traditional texts. Let me give you the examples. For example, we will start with a novel, The Handmaid's Tale, Margaret Atwood. Some of you might have seen that rather macabre TV adaptation of it. The Handmaid's Tale, a dystopian fiction. A dystopian fiction is a vision of the world in the future, an imagined world of the future, a future in which you would not wish to live. It's a really very dramatic novel. Students love it. They love studying it. It takes you to places and to ideas that you would never have dreamt of considering. The other novel that we study is The Great Gatsby. But one of the things you need to know about The Great Gatsby by Scott Fitzgerald is that we study it in a rather novel way. So rather than studying the text in a traditional way, we study the text and we look at Fitzgerald's writing so that we can produce our own writing. So this is the element of the course whereby you can demonstrate your skills as a writer, not just as a reader. This is very different to the literature course. The Great Gatsby, fantastic novel, one of my favourites of all time. I love post-war 20th century America, the flapper era, the jazz age, excessive parties. Brilliant, great fun. Students also really engage very, very well with that, and particularly like having the opportunity to express themselves creatively through their own writing. We also study a play. Now, this is All My Sons by Arthur Miller. Some of you might recognise that playwright's name. Fantastic play. It's an American play set in America just after the Second World War. And it's about a fractured family and trying to push back the past and the aftermath of a Second World War. It's a really very dramatic play. It's naturalistic. The focus in this is very much on speech and how playwrights use speech to be able to communicate their ideas and bring a play to life. I found it absolutely, it's wonderfully moving. It's very, very tragic. It's very, very funny. Great fun again. Students particularly like the way that we have to get a in-depth understanding of the way we talk, the way that we structure speech, the way we have conversations to be able to access that text. Just to make that point, language and literature, the element of speech, the study of speech that we do is very unique to this course. Maybe that's the sort of thing you need to talk to current students about. We also study poetry. We do John Donne. John Donne, who was a contemporary of Shakespeare, fantastic. I shouldn't really say this on camera, but the poetry is love poetry. And essentially, with most of English, actually, and especially the poetry of John Donne, it's either sex or death. As I say, shouldn't really say that, but that's the majority of John Donne's poetry. We also then move away from the traditional study and we do Paris. Yes, I'd so love to go to Paris. Post-COVID, we can all take our trip to Paris. But we have an anthology of texts centred around Paris, whereby we go through the full spectrum from spontaneous conversations right through to travel writing and the advertisements of Eurostar. It's language for a multitude of purposes, looking at a multitude of audiences. Really great fun. And then the final element of the course is the coursework. At the moment, 20% of the marks, by the way, for your coursework, you have to compare a literary text with non-literary material. This year, we've chosen Hamlet as our literary text, and we're comparing that, well, students are comparing it with all sorts of mad stuff. For example, we're looking at one of the main characters, Claudius, or one student is looking at Claudius, who's a king within the play, and comparing him to Donald Trump, looking at the speeches where he's celebrating his power, and then as he's losing his power. That's quite good fun. Another student is looking at ghosts and the way we react to ghosts, and comparing that to, and this is hilarious, I think, Ghost Hunter, the Emmerdale episode, where characters from Emmerdale go ghost hunting with Yvette Fielding. So the world is your oyster. Things are great fun here. It's very much to do with language and literature. So it takes you to elements of language analysis that you'd never thought of. Really very enjoyable course. It goes well with every subject, actually, the language and literature. But one word of warning, if you don't like language and you don't like reading, it's not the course for you. But look forward to joining you next year.